Hi folks, this is Alex Jones, and I want to tell you about the Silver Lungs generator. Now you can produce pure and endless colloidal silver and deliver the solution directly into the bloodstream by breathing the solution through the lungs. The respiratory system is the first line of defense for airborne pathogens and viruses. The Silver Lungs generator infuses the respiratory system with your self-produced nano-silver solutions and also delivers the silver nanoparticles instantly into the bloodstream. With continued legislation threatening the sale of nano-silver products, you can now produce pure and endless colloidal silver with the Silver Lungs generator. Very easy to follow step-by-step instructions are provided, making production fast and simple. Go to www.silverlungs.com today and learn more about the breakthrough technology of the Silver Lungs generator. That's www.silverlungs.com. A very wealthy U.S. citizen is predicting that in 2011, we will witness the most important day in America in more than 50 years. He says it will change everything about our lives. The way you shop, travel, invest, educate your children, and even how you take care of your health and your own family. Now, this man has made some outrageous predictions over the years. The crazy part is, he's usually right. You see, he predicted the collapse of GM, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and America's biggest mall owner, General Growth Properties. In fact, Barron's called his work a dire prophecy. Recently, he created a video, which you can watch online for free, detailing his biggest and most important prediction yet. And it's a real eye-opener. I can't stress this enough. You should at least watch this free video online today. He explains everything you need to know, including simple steps you can take to protect yourself. You can find the video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica, the number 3.com. Watch the free video at www.endofamerica3.com. That's endofamerica3.com. Hello, this is Alex Jones with some important questions. If you're going into a battle and they give you a rifle and a sidearm, how much ammunition do you want? My answer would be all I can get. In the battle for freedom and the lives of your loved ones, food is your only ammunition. How much do you want? When do you want it? Now or after the battle starts? When will you need it? Can you buy it without proper identification? Will there be any food? Will it make your children sick? If there's a quarantine and you can't feed yourself, will you go to the gathering center and be immunized? You wipe out all these problems if you have a good food supply. Food is your ammunition to fight for your freedom and your life. How much will you need? We don't know. How much do you want? All you can get. I'm Alex Jones. I want all of you good guys to live to fight another day. Call 1-800-409-5633 or check it out on the web at efoodsdirect.com. Again, that number, 1-800-409-5633.
Leading a frontal assault on the lies of the New World Order. It's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network.
It seems like every few months, a maid who works for Jeb Bush or Marvin or George W. or George Herbert Walker gets run over in their parking lot, or their dead body gets found out on the beach in front of the house, or another lady down in Houston says George W. raped her, and then she blows her head off a few days later. Well, Fox News reports cops have found a former Bush aide. He was murdered, found in a landfill. Well, they just had Fahmy Malek, the Arkansas medical examiner. They found dead cops, you name it, in landfills in Arkansas with their arms and legs chopped off. And Fahmy Malek would say they did it to themselves. That only works in Monty Python, the Holy Grail, I think. It's just a scratch. A man who fought to get the Vietnam Veterans Memorial built and served in 2 Bush administrations was murdered, Delaware police say. John P. Wheeler III, 66, was found dead in Delaware landfill, and his death has been ruled a homicide by Newark, Delaware police. They're asking the public for leads in the case. Was he just robbed by somebody, or did something else happen? Or did somebody want to bury some facts with charities? Wheeler's body was found in Wilmington on Friday after a disposal truck containing his body made pickups in Newark. Wheeler, who lived in Newcastle, was chairman of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund during the Ronald Reagan era. He also held many high-profile government positions after graduating from West Point in 1966. He was an experienced business turnaround consultant. Police believe Wheeler's body had been placed inside one of the bins in Newark before a disposal truck arrived. So there you have it. Here's a new report by Jason Douglas. Great job, Jason Douglas. I did see this up on the Drudge Report today from Mainstream News, but he's broke it down, the fact that it's connected to global warming umbrella. That's their cover. Germany hides spy satellite under global warming umbrella, undertaking a costly project with an immense scope. Like next-generation spy satellites cannot be done in private. The vast amounts of money involved in these state-of-the-art endeavors make secrecy next to impossible. This is why the current modus operandi is to cloak large-scale, conventional, controversial projects as private commercial ventures with a specific scientific focus, like media buzz term, global warming. WikiLeaks has exposed yet another of these clandestine projects by releasing diplomatic cables showing the involvement of at least one German agency, the BND, an intelligence service, launching spy satellites under the name of global warming satellites. Well, yeah, that's how they introduced in Australia and the U.S., that local police would be using spy satellites now that we paid for to fight the Ruskies. They go, oh, it's for the Earth. It's to stop fires, wildfires. The next we learn they're watching your wife suntan in the backyard. Interesting article by Jason Douglas. Get that out to folks from Infowars.com. Germany hides spy satellite under global warming umbrella. Okay, I said I would get to this. And, you know, when you actually get censored yourself, it's hard to believe. I'll never forget in 1999, Shamrock Communications, they own like 50-something radio stations, 30-something newspapers, medium-sized company. I was getting top ratings for 98.9 FM here in Austin, and making them a lot of money, and I was getting paid almost nothing because I didn't have an agent, didn't know radio. I just wanted to reach people. And Jay Leno talked about me for some reason, made a joke. And a bunch of BBC came in to interview me. We were getting a lot of attention. And so the general manager of all the outfit flew down, and he came into the office, and they had a consultant there, and they said, you're going to cover sex and relationships now. And I said, but it's 98.9 FM, First Amendment at its best. And they go, not anymore. Next week, it's just going to be called talk radio. Because they had new management then at the local station. And I said, well, what am I not allowed to talk about? They said, no more Bill Clinton, no more Waco, no more Delta Force, no more New World Order. And by the way, don't talk about Governor George W. Bush. And I went, wow. And I found out right before Mark Keister left to go run the YMCA. He was the good guy that hired me, along with a former radio guy by the name of Sharkman was his radio handle, who'd actually been syndicated all over the country and was actually a radio person, and called me. They saw me on Access, said, you got talent, you want a show? Boom. Of course, it was successful. But they told me no more of this stuff. And about a week later, they said, you're still talking about this stuff. And I said, well, I told you in the meeting I can't shut up about these issues. I mean, I do this for passionate reasons. And the guy slapped me. I mean, pretty hard, like, oh, yeah. And it kind of hurt. And I almost punched him. Big fat guy. Looked like Ron Jeremy. I almost punched him right there. I mean, but I controlled myself because I wanted to reach the people and defeat the New World Order. I mean, I'll go through a mile of you-know-what to fight the globalist. I'll put up with any amount of humiliation. He slapped me. He's like, hey, you're not going to be talking like that no more. I mean, almost like that. And I was like, he was an East Coast guy. And I said, okay. Because I knew to at least be passive-aggressive enough to just go, okay, and then keep doing what I was going to do. You know, kind of like the Japanese do. Just, you know, they'll let your produce come in from a foreign country. They just let it rot on the dock. So I let it rot on the dock, and like 10 weeks later, they fired me and got off on it and tried to get me to blow up. And of course, here I am today. What failures that Ron Jeremy lookalike is. So all of that happened, and I still couldn't believe it. By the way, the day they fired me, the BBC was there again to interview me, and they yelled at me and laughed at me and said, "Get your stuff and get out of here," and did it all in front of the media. And I knew I was telling the truth and fighting the globalists, and I wasn't worried about it. I'd already started doing a show over satellite that was being picked up by stations. So I'd already, started a new operation. It's the information that can't be stopped. It's the signal. And then Ventura's show was going to air last year, and Ventura and I privately did not believe it was going to air. The global warming special proving it was a fraud before climate get it even broken. The world population reduction plans of Maurice Strong. But then when it did air, Ventura and I decided it got under the radar. And then they started having their stuff robbed and their stuff broken into and threats and things they don't want me to talk about because it's private. And all of this craziness went on. And then their police state episode aired once, normally airs more than 50 times in the next year. Should have already aired more than 10 times since November. They banned it, disappeared it. Then they are not airing the JFK as much. They're not airing the Wall Street very much. And people who believe in DVRs, people who think they're great. I told you many years ago, they watch what you watch. They track what you watch. Many of them have microphones and cameras built in. All the new video games coming out have it. And they track everything you're doing. Now that's admitted. First got admitted 4 years ago, Janet Jackson malfunction. And they reported, TiVo, 2.2 million rewinds, replays within 1 minute of it happening. And the Chicago Tribune asked, how do you know that? So that's what's going on here. That's what's happening. And I got to get to this next video, but when we come back in the final segment, I'll tell you the latest censorship dealing with this. But I barely got time to get to this now. This is from the 1970s. It's a Orson Welles piece from Plato's The Cave. And if you go to Infowars.com, you can see it. It's called The Cave, How Man is Controlled. And it describes, and I'd read Plato back in college, but I'd forgotten about it. It describes everything I've gone through. Once you've been out of the cave, you don't care about laurels or awards, or you just care about the truth and the wonderment of life, and you passionately want to unlock people who've been in the mind control system. And this was written 2,300 plus years ago by Plato. And imagine how you can take the cave wall with the puppets for television. All these years later, how perfectly the cave describes the mechanism that has captured, deceived and diverted us from what's important and real about humanity. Real life has been arrested in our modern day. Instead, television and other forms of bread and circus present to us imitations of life that we learn to take on as our role models and heroes. Think about sports. Think about fashion. These are all shadows on the cave wall. The world is so much bigger. And if I can just get people to think outside the box, I've done my job. Here it is, Plato's The Cave.
Let me show in a parable to what extent our nature is enlightened or unenlightened. Envision human figures living in an underground cave with a long entrance across the whole width of the cave. Here they have been from their childhood and have their legs and necks chained so that they cannot move and can only see before them, being prevented by the chains from turning their heads around. Above and behind them, a fire is blazing at a distance. They see only their own shadows, which the fire throws on the opposite wall of the cave. For how could they see anything but the shadows if they were never allowed to move their heads? Between the fire and the prisoners, there is a raised way and a low wall built along the way like the screen which puppet players have in front of them, over which they show the puppets. Do you see men passing along the wall, carrying all sorts of articles which they hold projected above the wall? Statues of men and animals made of wood and stone and various materials? Of the objects which are being carried in like manner, they would only see the shadows. And if they were able to converse with one another, would they not suppose that they were naming what was actually before them? And suppose further that there was an echo. which came from the wall. Would they not be sure to think when one of the passers-by spoke that the voice came from the passing shadows?